Welcome to today's lesson, which is all about helping you guys build, grow, and expand your vocabulary. And I'm going to tell you how you can do this very easily as well. That's coming up. What's up, everyone? My name is Wes. This is Interactive English, which is the place that you want to be to practice and improve your English skills. So today I have a vocabulary lesson for you, which is all about trying to help you build, grow, and expand your vocabulary. And the way that you are going to grow your vocabulary is with suffixes. Now, as I said, this is a very easy way for you guys to expand your vocabulary, and it is so important because that just means that you are able to use the words and the language correctly and really express your thoughts and opinions more easily and more accurately as well. So we're going to talk today a lot about suffixes, and before we jump into it, I want you guys to say what's up in the chat, write your name, tell me where you're joining us from, and even if you are watching this later, write your name in the chat. We just want to hear from you. So Hakeem, Bassam, Amano, Reno, Bogdan. Sorry if I missed some names. Long. Nice to have you guys with us. Thank you for joining us today. And let's just jump right into it. So today we're talking about suffixes. And if you're not already sure what a suffix is a letter or group of letters added to the end of a word to make a new word. So we're taking one word and we're just building to it. And as I said, this is a great way to build your vocabulary, and it's very easy too, because if you know the meaning of one word, you can just build to it and build other words that have a very similar meaning. So, for example, let's look at this word. We have the word help, and we're going to add the suffix ful to have a whole other word. It gives us a new adjective, helpful. Somebody is helpful. So in today's lesson, I'm going to break this into 3 different parts. We're going to break it down by the part of speech. So we're going to talk about some suffixes to make nouns. We're going to talk about some suffixes to make adjectives, as well as some suffixes to make verbs. And as we go through this, I'm going to give you the suffix, and again, there are many of them. In today's lesson, we're going to go over about 20 different suffixes, but there are many others, and I suggest that you learn them and learn the words that go with them. So we're just going to talk about these 3 parts of speech and some of the suffixes that go with them. But as we're going through these, what I would ask you guys to do is I've given you some examples of words that have these suffixes. Write some other words in the chat. Just go ahead and throw those words out there so that people can see other words that are used with those suffixes. Whether you are watching this now or even watching this later, you can read along and see some of the other words. So let's go ahead. Let's look at some noun suffixes. So here are the first 2 that I have for you. Is we have the er suffix. And if you see this, it's just creating a noun, a person who performs an action. For example, like say, where does the teacher work? So you have the word teach, the base word, and we add that er, then we have teacher, a person who teaches. The next example, I could use a helper. You have the base word help, we add that er, and now we're talking about a person, someone who performs this action, someone who helps. So now in the first 2 minutes, I've just given you 2 different examples with the base word help. Helpful, helper. We can just add these suffixes, create new words, and it is such a great way to build your vocabulary. So again, if you're in the chat, write some other words. What other words have that er suffix or even this ment suffix? And if you see this suffix, we're talking about the action or result of something. So For example, I stared at the sky in amazement. Most of the time we think of the adjective, something is amazing. But if we want to say the noun, amazement, and often it's used with that preposition in. We can also say retirement is a little boring. So we have the word retire, the verb to retire, to stop working, and we can make it a noun, retirement, which is the time when you are no longer working, you have hopefully saved money, you retire, and retirement is talking about this time period. Retirement is a little boring, all right? So again, it is such a great way to build our vocabulary. And somebody, Mildred, yes, burner, exactly, a great ER noun that's using that suffix. Thank you for the example. So let's look at the next set of noun suffixes. We have this one, HOOD, which describes, it's talking about a state, a condition, or character. So for example, if something is likely, then you're asking about the possibility. But if we want to use it as a noun, you might ask, what's the likelihood this happens? This is a common way that this noun is used. Somebody's asking about the likelihood. What's the likelihood of this event? What's the likelihood that something happens? This is a common way that it's used. This other word, I think people know, okay, a child. All right, we know what that means. She remembers her childhood. She remembers her childhood. Childhood is talking about this condition, this state, this period when you were a child. So this is when I said it's a great way to build your vocabulary, because some people would say, maybe they don't know the word childhood, and they would say, oh, she remembers when she was a child. And that's perfectly fine. But again, if you're able to build your vocabulary and use these suffixes, you can say the same thing using less words. She remembers her childhood. It's very specific. It's very to the point. If you guys can think of any other words in that chat, just write them down. Throw them down there. Now we have this one, NESS, ness. And you often, you see this one a lot at the end of certain adjectives and verbs. And it's talking about a state or quality. So for example, I might ask you, what does happiness mean to you? Happy, I think most of us know that word. If we want to make it a noun, that adjective a noun, happiness, happiness. Same with aware, all right? Somebody is aware. We want to make it a noun, awareness. He lost his awareness, all right? We got some other good examples. Yes, Rizwana, brotherhood, Amano, neighborhood, Mildred, parenthood, Eskiel, madness. Excellent, perfect. Thank you guys for sharing with us. Now, let's look at some other noun suffixes. We have these up here, and you see these all the time. I know you guys see these. S-I-O-N, T-I-O-N. And the pronunciation, I know we've said this in other lessons, is just shun. If you see these four letters up here at the end of a word, it's pronounced shun. And it's talking about an action, a state, or being. So, for example, wow, and I just realized I made a mistake because I used some other examples which I didn't change. But one of the most common words I think of would be with T-I-O-N, for example. And if you guys know of any, write them down. Transportation. It is a noun, transportation, the way you move. If I want to think of something with S-I-O-N, comprehension. Comprehension, understanding, to comprehend, the verb, the noun, comprehension. So these are very, very common. And the next one, ISM. If you see ISM, then it's talking about a practice, a condition, or a doctrine. So, for example, some words, I'd say some people believe in socialism. Socialism, again, it's just a condition, a doctrine, a belief about society. And then this last one down here, which as a teacher, I have used all the time. If you don't know this word, to plagiarize is the verb, and it just means to copy. Copy work that is not yours. And we would say, especially in American school systems, we say, don't plagiarize, don't plagiarize. If we want to make that a noun with ISM, plagiarism. Plagiarism is wrong. Don't copy, use your own words, all right? So other words that people have, yes, mention, perfect, competition, criticism, gosia, excellent word, Zhao, racism, feminism. There are many, many words that use these suffixes. And again, it is such a great, great way to expand and build your vocabulary. So now that we've looked at the nouns, let's look at some adjectives and changing words into adjectives using certain suffixes. So the first set that I have for you, these up here, and they're very common, the able and ible suffix, and it's talking about capable of being. So for example, that first example, to tolerate, to be able to endure something. If I want to describe something using an adjective, something is tolerable. It's capable of being tolerated. Learning English is tolerable. I hope so. I understand sometimes it may not be tolerable, but I hope learning English is tolerable. Drinking water. Okay, this is another great one. Is the water drinkable? This is an adjective. So many people know the verb drink. Everybody knows, oh, drink, or they know the noun, a drink. But again, if you want to expand your vocabulary, we can use it as an adjective. Something is drinkable. Are you capable of drinking this thing? Drinkable. Great way, again, build your vocabulary, grow your vocabulary. Next one, FUL. I know a lot of you could think of words with this suffix. And my example, Wes, it's true sometimes. Wes is so forgetful. You just saw how forgetful that I was because I forgot to change those other sentences and give you some SION, examples. I'm so forgetful. And again, I could say, I hope this lesson is useful. Something helps you, an adjective, useful. We use it all the time. And if you think that building your vocabulary is useful, please hit that like button down below. Go ahead and hit that like button. Some other adjectives with this suffixes. This one is interesting. Ish. It's talking about belonging to or like something. So for example, if we're talking about a group of people, Wes is not British. It's being like you're belonging to Great Britain. You're belonging to this group of people. Wes is not British. So many people ask us, they're like, is this British English or is this American English? My pronunciation, my accent is American English. However, this lesson right here, suffixes, British English, American English, Australian English, Canadian English, this is just important for all English varieties. And the next word, Wes can be childish at times. Childish. Childish means acting like a child. So again, you have this one word, child. You can change it around, childhood, childish. Build your vocabulary. It's so useful to build it this way instead of thinking like, oh, I have to learn a completely different word. Build on the words that you already know. The next adjective suffix, less. I know we see these a lot as well. It means without something. Don't be careless with your work. Careless, great example. Sometimes learning English feels hopeless. I know that it feels hopeless. There are many rules, especially with English. There are so many different words. And that's why I think people, when they think of vocabulary, they're like, oh, what do I do? There's so many different English words. And that's what the purpose of this lesson is to tell you, well, you don't need to focus on all these new and different words. Focus on building what you already know. Other great examples you guys have given, yes, Sampara, hopeful, Basam, powerful, edible, shameless, fitness, exactly. The one other thing that I want to say with ish, which is interesting, it's now used kind of like in slang, in colloquial. If somebody says, you know, is something like this, somebody might just say, well, you know, ish. and they just mean like, well, it's kind of like it, all right? It's similar to it. They would say similar-ish. So a lot of times people will say a word and they'll just add that ish on it. And it's kind of more slang, but it's talking about, yeah, it's kind of like something else, ish. The next set that I have for you is the IOUS or the OUS. And this, again, the pronunciation, the OUS is more just like an us. You have that schwa sound. The IOUS is all similar, but it's almost like an es. All right. So for example, us, famous. Do you want to be famous? You have fame, which we can just change that meaning and add the OUS, the adjective famous. And the next word, again, the great TION word, caution. All right. Show caution. If you want to make it an adjective, I'm cautious when crossing the street. Cautious, all right? And you should be cautious when crossing the street and look both ways. Next, we have just the Y at the end. And usually we're adding this Y at the end of a noun to make it an adjective. So for example, it means that it's made up of or characterized by something else. So you might be talking about the weather and you say, yeah, it's a little cloudy outside. Actually, right now, it is cloudy outside. That's true. Or if you're talking about food, you could say, wow, this fruit is tasty. Again, you're adding that Y and changing the meaning. Excellent. So these are some common suffixes that we can use to create adjectives. Now let's look at some to create verbs. And then once we're done with that, we are going to practice what we've learned. So some verb suffixes. And I think some of these are going to be a little easier because when you're studying grammar, I think you've seen these before, like this first one. For example, the ED. It's used with the past tense regular verbs. Now, the ED, it's used to create the past tense, but it is still a suffix. So, for example, they walked to the park, talking about the past. Last week, I played soccer, talking about the past. The ED, it's still a suffix. We can also use an EN suffix when we want to change either an adjective or a noun and change it into a verb. So, for example, soft. Something is soft, it's an adjective. If you want to make it a verb, soften. All right, and now I've used it in the past tense. We softened the fall. So this has soft now. We've just added two suffixes to it. We added the EN and then made it the past with the ED. We softened the fall. We made something more, we made it softer. And maybe we used a pillow. I don't know. We softened the fall. The next one, for example, she strengthens her position. She strengthens her position. We use that EN to change it to a verb. Next, we can create verbs with the IZE or the ISE suffix. And this means to cause or to become. For example, stores commercialize certain holidays. They commercialize. They try to sell more things. And the way they do that is that they advertise to customers. They advertise to customers. These are some common verb suffixes. And the other one that I have for you guys right there is the ing. Again, it's the continuous form of the verb, but it is still a suffix because we're taking that base verb and adding an ing to talk about an action that is happening. So for example, you could say, tonight, yeah, I'm eating healthy tonight. Eating has that ing suffix. I am eating. And then the other one, this is a question that is so common. If you want to know like what another person is going to do, you just say, hey, what are you doing? Or maybe you're wondering like, what's happening? What are you doing? All right. So these are some common verb suffixes. Let's look at a few more. So we also have this first one, the IFY, all right, is to make or to cause to be. So for example, you have the word something is intense. It's intense. That's an adjective. We can make it a verb, intensify. The work intensifies every day. It gets more and more. It gets more difficult and more difficult. It intensifies. All right. They will rectify the situation. To rectify means to make something right again, to correct something that might have been wrong, to rectify the situation. We also have the ate suffix, to do or become. For example, dominate. Again, we're going to use that ed past. We dominated the match. And then you could say, if something bothers you, irritate, to irritate. This really irritates me. That really irritates. Some other great ones, yes, to identify, to capsize. Great examples, Simpara, Patricia. Derive, Biora, perfect. Thank you guys for sharing with us. So these are a bunch of different suffixes with nouns, verb, and adjectives. So now I want to give you guys a quick vocabulary tip. And as I told you from the beginning, this is a great way to build and grow your vocabulary. And the tip is this, again, use the words you already know and then expand on those words by being able to change them to nouns, adjectives, verbs. You learn words in the word family. So what I would suggest that you do if you're learning, well, how do I find out what other words are out there? If you look on just about any online English dictionary, you could type in the word intense, for example. Type in intense. It'll give you the meaning, but oftentimes you will see this list of related words. And that list of related words will show you how the word is also used as a noun, as an adjective, as a verb. And look at the suffix. Look at the suffix that is being used and actually see how the word is being changed. So that would be my tip. Learn the words in the word family. Use the words you already know to build your vocabulary. Instead of drink, you can change it to an adjective, drinkable. And use online dictionaries. It is a great resource to find out those related words. So now that we've gone through all this, it is time to practice what we've learned. And I have some questions for you, and I want you guys to write your answers, write them in the chat. And even if you're watching this later, use the comments. Use it as it's a digital whiteboard that you can practice with us and actually interact with these lessons. This is interactive English. So I'm going to ask you a question. All I want you to do is write the suffix. I have a few for you, and I don't think they're too difficult. So the first one, giving you all these suffixes. It's not all of them, but many of them that we discussed today. I want you to complete what suffix are you going to use to complete that sentence? Write it in the chat, write it in the comments. When you get into the car, you should your seatbelt. I've given you the root word, all right? Which suffix are you going to use to complete that, all right? When you get in the car, you should your seatbelt. Excellent. Yes, Sam, Rizwana, see some great answers. We should use that en suffix. When you get in the car, you should fasten. Fasten your seatbelt. Again, this is a great way. En, we change it to a verb, to fasten something. Next is, again, I love this picture that I found, all right? Don't be and get in the water. Stay in the boat, okay? How are you going to complete this sentence? I've given you the base word, all right? The root word, fool. What suffix are you going to use that this makes sense, all right? Don't be and get in the water. Stay in the boat. Write that suffix in the comments. See some great answers. Yes, Gosia, Junior, Geraldine, Carlos. Thank you guys for answering. You want to use that ish, all right? Ish is like something. Don't be like a fool. Don't be foolish and get in the water. Stay in the boat. There's a shark. You don't want to go swimming with the shark. So now let's make it a little more difficult. I'm just going to give you a blank. I'm not going to give you the root word. I want you to think of which word best completes the sentence, okay? And maybe you'll think of another word that I didn't, all right? So there might be more than one answer to this, but the word is going to use one of these suffixes, all right? When doing important work, it's necessary that you... All right, I'm giving you a little hint with my action right here. When doing important work, it's necessary that you, all right, which suffix completes this, is going to complete this sentence? What do you think? We're talking about important work. All right, when doing important work, it's necessary that you, all right, there's your hint right there. What should you do? And again, you can kind of think this out. Part of speech. Which part of speech would be you what? We're talking about you do some action. You do something. So it is a verb. All right. Many of people, again, yes. The word that I was looking for, concentrate. Again, focus. That's perfect. It means the same thing. It just doesn't have one of the suffixes that we talked about. When doing important work, it's necessary that you concentrate. ATE, to have a consonant, to concentrate. That is our verb. Next, all right. What do you guys think? We do these lessons out of the of our hearts. All right. This is kind of an expression too, so hopefully that makes it a little easier. You do something out of the of your hearts. Okay? What word is best going to complete that sentence? What do you guys think? Write it in the chat. Even if you're watching this later, whoops, oops, hit the wrong button. Write your answers. And yes, since I just showed you the answer, yes, we do these lessons out of the kindness of our hearts. That was my mistake. I went ahead. I jumped ahead. So kindness, again, if somebody is kind, it's an adjective. We can add the NESS to make it a noun, the kindness of our hearts. We love doing these lessons for you guys and practicing and helping you guys improve your skills. We do these lessons out of the kindness of our hearts. So now I have one last announcement for you guys, because some people have asked about this previously, and that is just to let you know we are now, this way, yes. We are now on Patreon. If you guys like what we do here, if you enjoy our lessons and want to show some love or support, you can make a donation, and there are some different rewards. You can check us out on Patreon. I'll leave a link in the description. And now I've just realized it's completely contradictory to what I just said. We do this out of the kindness of our hearts. We do, but still, at the same time, some of you have asked about this. And it's completely up to you. You don't have to do this. We're still going to do a lot of these lessons each week, these free lessons. But we wanted to let you know that we are on Patreon. Because again, in the future, we are going to come out with some online courses that some will be free, some will not be free, because our goal in the future, we would love to make this our job and make this our permanent job. So hopefully, we can do that some days, but we just wanted to let you guys know if you're interested in checking that out. So thank you guys for joining me today. Thank you for commenting and participating in this lesson. If you enjoyed it, I'd appreciate it if you like it and share it with anybody you know who's trying to practice and improve their English skills. Write questions to us in the comments. You can also join our social media classes. Those are available. But thank you guys, Halwak, Lil, Junior, Carlos, Trin, Rizwana, Bassam, Gosia, Valdir, Liha, Long. Thank you for joining us. Thank you. Sorry if I missed some names. Andre, Patricia. We really love doing these lessons with you guys. Thank you again. Hope you have a wonderful day, And we will see you next time. And you, yes, you, Farad. Thank you. We'll see you guys later.